Ethereum. For those of you who are aware, or maybe for those of you who aren't aware, we have a wonderful organization management company named Ethereum. They are literally the people who help us survive as an organization. They do a lot of our awesome, like, difficult administrative work and the things that as a volunteer board we can't do in the same way. So Riley, would you mind like introducing yourself? And you're a new face for lots of folks, so tell us who you are.
Yes. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Riley Fields. Thank you, Amanda, for that amazing introduction. I'm brand new to the Ethereum team. I just started 3 weeks ago, and so I'm very excited to be working with PCA. I have a master's in integrated global communication from Kennesaw State University. Hootie hoo, go Owls. So I love the higher academia kind of realm, and I'm really excited to be working with you all. So thank you so much, for being here. I'm excited.
Yay. Tara, will you introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Tara Zarowski. I am the association manager for PCA. I've been with PCA about 2.5 years now. Sorry, I'm not on video. I'm not sure, my camera's being really finicky today. I was on video earlier, so I'm not sure why. I think it's tired of me. So, but welcome, and I hope everyone enjoys this presentation and that we get to get you more engaged in PCA in the future.
Yes, your camera has decided that Tara is done working today. I think that you
Apparently.
should listen to it. Brenda, I don't know if you're able to pop on.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm about 10 minutes away from home, and so I'm going to leave my sound and camera off until I get there. There's torrential rains in St. Louis, and I got really slowed down. But hey, everyone, I'm glad to have you here and be here myself. And I am the current president of the Popular Culture Association, and we're excited for this presentation.
Well, thanks, Brenda. We're really little, so I was wondering if folks would mind like just telling us who they are, and maybe what brought them to this session today, and then maybe to make sure we can get your answers. And if you can't, that's also okay. So if I say your name and you can't, and you're like, you can just shake your head no, or you can like give me a thumbs up that no, you don't want to say anything. That's totes cool. But I thought, since we're little, I thought I'd give us the opportunity to get to know some folks. So Latoya, you're up next on my screen. Would you mind? I'm sorry, just as you pick up your cup, I did what like every proper server in every restaurant does, which is interrupt your bite.
No, that was my fault. As soon as everyone said, we're doing introductions, I'm going for the coffee. It made absolutely no sense. But yes, hello. Thank you, thank you for, having this meeting. I just completed my master's of arts in history with a concentration in public history. And within my cohort, I was the pop culture person. That's my niche, the history of pop culture in the 20th century, specifically American popular culture. And so throughout my whole program, like everyone, most of us are veterans, military veterans. And so the niche is war history, Civil War, American Revolution, Vietnam. And here I come in wanting to talk about like all of the, My So-Called Life in the 90s and all these shows. And really, my one contribution was how, Marvel characters and, Civil War enthusiasts have this fandom, have this kind of these equal fandom, but no one really wants to talk about it or like focus on it. But yes. So yes, I came around and I found the Pop Culture Association through some research and wanting to find a niche of people who love history, but love pop culture, history specifically. And I'm just so proud and happy that I found the association. This is really awesome.
Yay, well, thank you for being here. We're so excited you're here. Yes, you will find people who will nerd out with you about everything you can possibly want to nerd out about. So we're very glad you're here too. Thanks. Erin, you're up next on my screen.
Hi, I'm Ann Keating. I got this particular one because New Orleans was my first sort of national pop culture conference, which was wonderful. I was there with two of my students. And it was really, really great. And I was too busy for the one right after it. catching up with things that I'd missed because I was at the conference. So I figured this was a good
Valid.
compromise. But yeah, I'm an associate professor at the University of Manitoba. My training was actually sort of in 17th century stuff, but I've always taken sort of a popular culture approach to that. Like I do celebrity and then sort of popular forms. And I had published years and years and years ago on Watchmen, and have recently gotten into teaching comics, but most specifically fantasy. And so really wanted to come back to the popular culture fold because I'm really, really enjoying that. And so figured I would come here and sort of get a little more sense of the association, and also potentially, hopefully, connect with someone to who can direct me to perhaps what happened to the Canadian Pop Culture Association, which seems to be difficult to find information on right now. So
Sorry, I lost my mouse. Erin, thank you for being here. We're so excited to hear Watchmen. We'll talk more. Yeah, I think some folks can help fill in some gaps on the Canadian Pop Culture Association at some point. I actually think it was financial exigency. And I think that was pre-COVID, if I remember correctly. So, but we probably got records. If not, by the way, everyone on this call, Bowling Green State University in Bowling Green, Ohio, houses a very large popular culture, the Ray and Pat Brown Popular Culture Library. And they also house the records, or a lot of the records from the founding members of PCA. So you might find some of that. And they do host a summer research institute every summer. For 1 week, you get to go hang out in the archive and do cool archival work. And it's really affordable. And we co-sponsor that with them. And like I said, a week in a popular culture library. This year it's in July. Next year it will be in June again. So it's already determined for this year. But please, I just putting a little bug in your all's ear. That would be a really great thing to consider. Okay, we'll talk more about that later. Majda,
Yes,
did I
good
say
evening.
that right?
How are you? Yes, yes, exactly. Okay, I'm Majda Atiya, and I'm the chair of the Collecting and Collectibles area. I'm assistant professor in English, specializing in African American, comparative, and Arabic literature. I'm calling you from Oman, the Sultanate of Oman, the Gulf area. So it's now around 8:15 p.m. Yes, okay, we're glad to be with you today. Okay, and I'm looking forward to your presentation. Thank you so
Yeah, well,
much.
yeah, thank you for being here, especially like in your evening. That's even
Yeah,
more impressive.
I'm glad to be with you, of course.
Well, thank
Plus,
you.
it's my birthday, by the way, so I'm
Happy
celebrating
birthday.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
wait, everyone, are you ready?
yeah.
Happy birthday
Oh,
to
Thank
you.
you.
Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to
to
you.
you.
Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday,
dear
dear.
you.
Majda.
Happy
Happy birthday
birthday
Thank
to
to
you.
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 so kind. Thank you so much, Shirley. Bless my day. Thank you. Okay.
Wonderful. Okay, last introduction is Sadia, SNL. Are you able to introduce yourself? Are
Yes,
you
hi
okay?
Amanda. I am. How are you doing? First and foremost, happy birthday, Majda, my sister. So nice to see that you're on.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Abby. I miss you so much.
I often fall underneath Majda's section when I present.
Yes,
So
yes.
long experience in history there. But yeah, glad to join you all. My alarm didn't go off, so something instinctively told me something was supposed to be going on at this time. Fortunately, I was like, okay, yeah, I remember what my colored calendar looked like. Yes. So glad to join you. Yeah, I'm assistant professor of art history at the University of Central Arkansas. I've been with PCA, thankfully, since what is this, 2000 and oh gosh. Oh, I can't remember now, but at any rate, I'm serving on the board of trustees now, and I'm also on the editorial board for our journal. So I'm very pleased and excited. And I'll be working under Amanda now because working with retention of our esteemed memberships. So looking forward to that. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, SNO. I am also looking forward to getting to work more closely with you and getting to do some really awesome retention and recruitment stuff. We're actually going to talk about those committees in a second as ways to get involved. So again, welcome. Thanks for being here. We just keep wanting to reiterate to folks when they come to the conference or to these sessions, like your membership and you being involved are very important to us. You matter, your scholarship matters. And this, for most of us who are on the board, and I think a lot of us who come to PCA is our intellectual and spiritual and scholarly home, right? Like it's where we find the people that we connect with who do the work that we do, right? And so I understand wanting to get involved. It's how I ended up an area chair and on the board, right? Because I want to give back to this organization. But we also know that there are benefits to getting involved with PCA that go beyond just what you're doing with PCA. So this is about taking your membership to the next level. So why get involved? By the way, the pictures that you see are from this past conference. So if you happen to see yourself somewhere, yes, if you were at the conference, it's very possible. But a few things. One, yes, it's about giving back to the organization, but we also know many of our members are in academic positions, which means you have to do service for tenure and promotion. So please remember that serving a national, international organization is in fact service for your promotion and tenure. And we are always willing to write letters for involvement, etc. So that if you need that for your PNT file, we are glad to do that. I know that I've written a few in my time in the board and in the organization to help folks with their tenure dossiers and their. I know that Latoya, you mentioned just graduating with a master's degree. So if you need those letters of rec and those kinds of things, or those things that help you get that job, like that's what getting involved helps you do. Is we will make sure you've got those things. We've got some area chairs on the call too. So I know area chairs in our organization are also always willing to help out in those ways. So that's part of why, but my guess is for most of you who showed up here on Friday afternoon, getting involved is because you found a connection to the organization, whether it's because of your scholarship or because you found people that you connected with when you were at conference. So that's great. So thanks for being here. I keep doing weird things with my mouse and losing my mouse. So what are the ways to get involved? I'm going to tell you the biggest ways to get involved with the organization is we have a lot of committees. I'm starting with selfishly the committees that I get to oversee, but that's because we have a lot of subcommittees under the area that I get to oversee, which is belonging, outreach, and membership. So for those of you who are interested in things like marketing and advertising, so how do we get the word out better about PCA? How do we help folks? How do we communicate better with our current members? Those kinds of things where we've just started some of these subcommittees, we've done some restructure over the last few months. So getting involved with helping those things. We also have a subcommittee on membership recruitment. Part of this is about how do we help for those of us who found the organization, usually through like a weird email that we got or like some listserv somewhere, whether that was UPenn or maybe HNet, right? How do we help new folks come into the fold? How do we make sure that we've got good connections with pop culture programs around the country and around the world, or American Studies programs? So that committee is going to be doing some of that work of looking at how we recruit new members. And then we've got a subcommittee, which Sadia mentioned a little bit ago, which is membership development and retention. One of the goals that we have, one is retaining our members so that you don't just come one time and never come again. So thanks, Erin, for coming and staying involved. Thanks, Latoya, for coming and staying involved. I want to thank you for being an awesome area chair. That means you at some point came and stayed and came back, right? So part of what we want to do is we want to make sure that our members are coming back to us, that they have that really solid, good experience at conference. But we also know that this is a moment where funds are getting tighter, especially things like travel funds and those things. So we want to make sure that we're able to do the awesome pop culture scholarly work that we do beyond just the conference. So what are those development opportunities that we offer? This year we offered for the first time that we think the first time ever. I say it that way because I'm never going to guarantee that something didn't happen 30 years ago that I missed, right? But we offered a professional development workshop at the conference. So we want to be able on diffusing conflict. So part of what we want to do is offer professional development of all kinds to our members. So that's what that committee is going to be doing. And then we do have a student engagement committee as well. It was formerly known as the graduate student advisory committee, but we really want, it has often been one that all of our students have a voice in. So we wanted to name it what it really is, which is a student engagement committee. How do we help undergraduate and graduate students be committed and engaged to the organization, right? How do we help support our graduate and undergraduate students in their scholarly lives and whatever that's going to look like for them moving forward? So those are the things that sort of fall under belonging, outreach, and membership. I'm going to pause and say, does anyone from the board team have anything they want to add, or does anyone who's not from the board team have any questions about these areas? There are other ways to get involved than just these, but I thought I would pause. Okay, I did the Jeopardy theme song in my head, so we'll move on, and then we will, if there are things at the end, we'll do that. Okay. The other way to get involved, see, I told you, like, committee is what you're going to see at the end of almost every one of these slides. There are the awards committees. The awards committees review the nominations for the various awards. On the right side of the screen are all of the awards that PCA offers. It is a lot of awards. These are the literary and film awards, right? Obviously, as you can see from this list, we need a lot of people who are willing to read books and review for these awards. So committee members receive access to or physical copies of the nominated materials. And currently that timeline is a December to February timeline. We are thinking about moving that forward a little bit to give a little bit more leeway time for the ahead of the conference, so that the winners have a little bit more time to determine if they're going to be able to come to the conference, right? We want to make sure that folks can do that. So that timeline might shift a little bit, but right now that's where it is. So as you can see, if you like to read books and get free books, joining an awards committee could be the way to do that, friends. Oh, I didn't pause. Let me pause. Questions about awards committee? Okay, I only did half the Jeopardy theme song that time. Okay. All right, the next one is our travel grant reviewers. For those of you who are aware, every year PCA gives approximately $73,000 worth of awards to between 70 and 90 members, depending on funding and those things. But that money comes from our endowment for travel to the annual conference. So some of you might have applied for one of those before and received it. And they are all kinds of awesome. So as you might guess, we need people who are willing to serve on those travel grant review committees, right? On the right-hand side of your screen are the various travel grants that we have. So if you are someone who's willing to help out in reviewing, right? You can't review in a category that you apply for, just a thought. However, you could help review a category and still apply in a different category, right? So think about that kind of engagement. Any questions about travel grants review? If you're thinking about applying for a travel grant, those will release in about the time that we put out the call for papers. You'll be able to apply for those. And that timeline is we typically do let people know by December. Is it December? Is it January? I'm looking at Brenda. It's January.
I think it's usually January when we announce
Yeah.
the winners. Yes.
Yeah. So the recipients of the travel grants. And for the awards, oops. If you have materials that have come out that fall into any of those categories, like do you have a new book? Maybe. There are also journal awards for graduate students, which are not on there because we don't have a review committee. So for those of you who are grad students, you should apply for them. It means you get your, you may get your work published in the journal. So looking at people. Okay, so we can talk later. So just know that that awards timeline is coming up soon. And actually in July at our Membership Matters, we're going to start talking about applying for awards as well as the other stuff that we're talking about then. So, all right. The final plug that I'm going to make is that we have a specialized request. If any of you yourself or know anyone in the PCA who have any kind of general civil rights or Title IX investigator training or are trained as survivor advocates, and you're willing to help, or they might be willing to help, we do our ethics committee. We have a ethics procedure, and we are looking for folks who have training in investigation to help join that very small group. It's not a general broad call that we're putting out, but if you do know anyone who has that kind of specialized training or background, let us know. If that's you, let us know. If it's someone, if you're willing, but that's our specialized request. Okay. So how do you tell us you want to get involved? I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to show you.
Amanda, the one thing.
Please, Brenda, go.
Oh, sorry. The one thing I might say is show them the form because the form will be there. But after some discussion, we're going to revise this form. So I'm going to talk to Riley this week to see if maybe we could do it really quickly.
I already edited it last night, Brenda.
Oh, you did. You did. Okay, cool. Based on all right, look at you, way ahead of the.
I mean, we still have to do some fixing, so just know you might have to fill out more information that's on there, but the broad strokes have been switched.
Cool. All right. Sorry, Amanda.
No, you're fine. I guess I should have told other people that I was going to do that. Sorry. When you don't tell the president what you're doing, I apologize.
We talked about it yesterday, so it's not. I just didn't expect. Yeah. I should have known Amanda would be moving and shaking. So
okay, on the main page, if you go to get involved, it's going to take you to this page that talks about involvement. Right. And at the very bottom, this is the part that we still need to change, but I can't change the website. It's called PCA volunteer form. We understand that for some people, the word volunteer sounds very different than what perhaps getting involved with PCA is. So here's your form. It's pretty simple. It's just get involved. There are going to be a few pieces that we do edit. We're going to put in some date fields and some things like that. And as you saw earlier, our committees have changed since the last time. So if you come in here, you're going to see some areas of interest that are probably not named the things that they're named right now. You can still let us know if you come in today and do it and you pick a thing. We're going to reach out to you anyway. So like pick a thing or don't pick a thing. We're going to reach out to you anyway, right? So just come in, let us know that you're interested. We're going to do a little bit of asking you, what might you bring to the group, not because we won't let you join the group, but so we know ahead of time who's coming in and with what skills or what things they are interested in accomplishing with that group. It's really just to help us really make sure that we know who our members are and what's going on with them. So yes, there are going to be some things on here that shift and change, but it's a really simple process to get involved. It's really just sending us essentially information that tells us you want to be involved more. So that was like my whirlwind tour of getting involved. I would love to just chat now. Tell us what you're thinking about. How might you want to be involved? What questions or comments or other folks on the call that have things they want to share about being involved? I'm going to stop talking now.
The one thing, I mean, I'm sure you already said this, Amanda, but so if you're interested in getting involved, like on serving on the board, this is one of the avenues towards doing that, because part of our requirements is if you run for to be a trustee, you do have to have some service to the organization. The other thing I would say is if you are an academic, these are the kinds of things that really look good on promotion and tenure files as well, right? So the different volunteer opportunities have different hours of that will actually be required to do the projects, but there's a couple of others that will be probably like a low commitment. So we're going to start a committee to also be sort of evaluating our website. And so you'd be working with Riley and Tara and, sort of looking at each page. And we really want to make sure like our website and all of our communication with our members is easy to use. And we know that right now some of that is a little clunky. So we're really looking to have some input from membership as well.
Yeah, thanks for saying that, Brenda. I actually had forgotten to say the thing about involvement equals opportunity to eventually run on the board. So sorry. That's a really important reason to get involved, right? Silly me. I'll also say that one of the other ways in my experience of getting involved in this organization is sharing your thoughts with us, right? Like with the board. All of our email addresses are on the website. We would love to hear from you about thoughts, ideas. One of the things that I didn't say is like in that membership development and retention piece, one of the things that that group is going to do is help us flesh out what these sessions, what membership matters sessions look like, what other online like webinars we host, or what like content should go, what professional development content should we put on our YouTube, like those kinds of things, like because we very much want to be useful, helpful, and generative to our members and our community. We want to give back. We want to do that work. So whatever feedback you all have, we would always love to hear it. Feel free to email any of us individually, Brenda, Sadia, myself, or Riley and Tara. We also have email address that's just contact@pcaaca.org. You can send it. Riley is the face behind contact@pcaaca.org. She will get that to someone, right, that can help. But we love hearing feedback. We love hearing how things are going, positive and negative. Let me rephrase that. Positive and constructive critical feedback. I'll take negative feedback too, but like not always that is that, right? So I think that's a really good way to help the organization, especially if you don't have the spoons right now to like be on a committee. But like Brenda said, there are going to be some sort of project work committees in some of these bigger areas that really are like finite. We're going to review the website and be done. We're going to get right, like we're going to give some feedback and be done. And so I think those are some low stakes ways to get involved. We also are thinking about ideas about how people can, and for lack of better way, volunteer at the national conference. Like what are some things that folks could do while at the conference? I know as an introvert, I know you probably think it's crazy that I am telling you that I'm introvert when I'm doing this, but it's true, I am. I would have loved in my first few years to have like gotten to do some assignment where I could like go to some place and like have a reason to be there, and like, you know what I mean? While I would rather hide in my room, right? So if you've got ideas for those kinds of things, we'd love to hear those too.
I was also just going to add quickly to Amanda, just like with ideas in general. I also do social media for PCA. So any feedback when it comes to that, I have a lot of ideas for sure, but it can kind of just become tunnel vision after a while. So if there's anything that y'all see or want to point out, like please reach out and let me know, just because my goal is to help PCA social media just be the best it can be. So that's kind of what I wanted to add too.
we're very excited that Riley is on board because Riley is very excited to be on board, which is the best kind of person to have in charge of the things like social media. So thank you, Riley.
Thank you, Amanda.
Are there questions? Are there things that you all have percolating in your brain? Or we've got like 15 more minutes before we would call the end. Are there things like you all came because you are interested and you found a connection? Are there things that you want to talk about that you've got a president, a trustee, and the president here in a very small group? We can stop the recording and you can ask those questions and
Okay, Amanda, I got a follow-up actually.
yes, please.
It's, from our last meeting, you were talking about undergraduate students, and this actually aligns with the student engagement. Because in our last meeting at SQ, they were calling for, encouraging undergraduate students to participate, in international conferences and even integrate the conference activities in the research projects, term papers, whatsoever. So, in our institution, I have a lot of undergraduate students who are interested in PCA and would like, to join, to be members and even to participate. But there is something related to funding, and we're talking about personal or, virtual, participation exclusively for undergraduate students. I don't know whether this has been finalized because we have call for papers and we need to indicate whether we are going to invite undergraduate students. But from now, I can tell you that they cannot travel. Maybe graduate students, they get funding. This is SQ. But undergraduate students prefer, virtual, participation. And given, the travel, what's going on, I just would like, to get heads up, whether there is a space for undergraduate students participation, virtual participation, exclusively for this group.
Yeah, we obviously have been talking, especially as new things have been popping up in legal and political realms, et cetera, around some of this. This is one of the things that is definitely on the board's mind. I've been bringing it to leadership and to the board. I will tell you, we do not have any solid plans yet, right? Like it is very hard to mobilize a switchover for an organization of this size. Because one of the things that we are talking about doing in the future, we've had lots of ideas float. One of the ideas that we've had float to the top is doing sort of the traditional conference as we've always done it, but then doing some kind of like virtual summer summit, right? And perhaps there could be an undergraduate portion of that. Or we've been talking as well about doing some of the student affairs conferences that I am involved with have literally a 2-day before the conference, undergraduate student conference that is focused on that, so that they're not overlapping with the other sessions, and those students can go to the non-undergraduate student sessions, right? For lack of a better way of saying that. We also foresee that those things, based on your feedback last time, and I think it was very spot on feedback, that undergraduates just don't get the funding that other students get, like graduate students can have access to. Does that need to be a virtual option? So those are all on the table. That is definitely something to talk about in the student engagement committee, but also we'll take it back to the board again and see what we can do. But maybe we need to put that in the membership development and retention area, and really think about how we do some of that work. And maybe we can do that more quickly than some of the other moving parts. Maybe we just set aside next summer a couple of days in the summer, or maybe summer's not the best for undergraduate students because they're not still with their faculty.
Yes.
So maybe it's like a day or two in like a spring semester where we do that virtual piece.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that feedback and for keeping it at the forefront. I really hope you join one of the subcommittees so you can help us keep that at the forefront and do some of the planning.
Yeah, yes. Okay, definitely. Thank you. Thanks.
Brenda, what are you thinking? Because I know you and I have had some of these conversations.
I think you articulated, you know, what we're thinking of. I promise you, we talk about it almost all the time about how we can do this because we have a lot of international members too who just are getting to the point where they just don't want to travel to the United States in this particular climate. So I'll just tell you from my perspective, it's very challenging because we're sort of locked into these hotel contracts through 2028. So that's why these committees are really important because after 2028, we have a lot more wiggle room. We can start to change how we do the conference. Maybe we do a hybrid conference. You know, we can at least think about things like that. But Maj, I think I'm glad you're actually bringing that up because I mean I think we could think about something in the summer, perhaps for especially particularly for undergraduates. We've had people also suggest, you know, there should maybe be some development seminars or things like that in advance of the conference. So we're exploring those ideas. We're just trying to, you know, I'll tell you that this past conference, we allowed our international people, if they wanted to, as long as the chair was cool with it, they could send in a video of their presentation. And you may have actually been to a session where that happened.
Yeah.
And it was great because you got to hear, you know, people's ideas, but it wasn't great for the presenters, of course, because they weren't there at the conference. They didn't get that experience. They didn't get to hear feedback from, you know, from the audience and things like that. But we'll still continue to try to do as much of that as we can. It's challenging in our hotels because our Wi-Fi is we pay, you would not even believe how much we pay for Wi-Fi at the conference, but it's over $100,000. So, but it's something that if too many people are trying to stream in, it will start to like destabilize our connection. So we have to try to juggle that as well. So just so you kind of know the behind the scenes challenges of, yes, we want to do it, but we also have to do it, you know, and make sure the conference can still run smoothly.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
But really, if we think about it as an opportunity to do it at a time that's not during the annual conference, like
Yeah.
that could really be the place to make
Mhm.
that connection. It also means that I know, Erin, you said you brought two students as well, right, to the conference. So like, how do we help for our faculty who are wanting to like bring their students or engage their students in scholarly work, but maybe don't want to bring their students to the conference that's their like awesome space away from their students. Not that we don't love students. This is being recorded. I love students. Um, but you know, those kinds of things. So we need to, I think the more that we can layer this and think about it, it's definitely on our brains. Sadia.
Yeah, hi. So just listening to the conversation, I'm reminded that I touched base with Shannon Skelton just before before the conference ended, and we said that we were going to tag team on some professional development, just to get students, whether that be undergrad or grad students, prepared for presenting. But I think there is definitely, as you were saying, Amanda, opportunities to layer this and also maybe even have it trickle out throughout the academic year so that periodically we can upload, you know, students presenting their papers and works, and maybe even possibly, I'm just putting it out there, but you know, have an award or something or certificate or something of completion so that because it also gives them an opportunity, especially at the undergrad level and sometimes at the grad level, because I brought a grad student with me myself, a colleague of mine who is doing her online work in New Orleans. And I said, this is a great opportunity for you to be there. And again, we happen to be under Majda's um, session because it had to deal with museum collections and AI. So, and ironically, Majda's student couldn't come because she was an international student. So we had that layering again of all those impacts there. So I think, and she did a wonderful job, by the way,
The
even though,
students, they were really impressive. If you
yeah, she
remember,
was. I was like,
wow.
wow, okay, yeah. But
Yeah.
and that's my point. I think Shannon and I were looking at the possibility of getting students polished on that level so that when they're physically in the space, you know, it's less of there's one less layering of fear involved in terms of presenting.
Yeah.
So I think there's great possibilities here for that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Amanda. I was
Oh
just gonna
no,
say
please go.
it's a cool idea because a lot of undergraduates, when they first come, present in the undergraduate section. And then they have that experience and you know, I've brought a lot of students over the years, and then the next year they come, they, you know, go into one of the areas that actually accepts undergraduate papers. So that might actually really have some possibilities.
And I want
Yeah,
to
oh,
acknowledge that we
sorry.
understand as well that it's not just our undergraduate students that might experience some pre-conference jitters about uh, national conference presentations. So we are talking about some workshops pre-conference, but also in the mornings of the conference to let folks sort of practice run in front of an audience, maybe not their area, but like folks like me and Brenda and like whoever else is willing to show up, and folks can get some feedback, do that run through and get some feedback before they're presenting, because we know that um, it's not just students that get nervous about doing these things. So allowing for some space to do some of that as well. I saw Sadia's hand was up first, and then Aaron.
Yeah, no, just a quick note. As Brenda was talking, it just reminded me of something else. I'm not sure if it's on my campus or where it was, but the opportunities also to possibly even include or incorporate poster presentations, because that's a nice little scaffolded step before you get into a full-blown, right, full audience inside a room. So those are some things that we should consider as well.
Absolutely, thanks, Aaron.
I have a very practical question, which is like, so for these types of committees, sort of you had on the first one, not the awards ones, but the other ones, what sort of time commitment is that? Like, how do you meet? How often do you meet? Like those sorts of things.
That is a wonderful question. Thank you for asking the actual question that matters. We meet virtually. Sometimes, like there is like a session at the conference. In the years past, it's been called the Diversity Committee meeting. It will be called we're calling the broad thing BOM, by the way. Belonging, outreach, and membership. There will be a BOM committee meeting for like anyone who wants to join. It's open to everyone. But in between the conferences, those subcommittees will meet virtually. There are subcommittee chairs. As Sadia mentioned earlier, she is one of the subcommittee chairs for one of the subcommittees. So the committees themselves will determine meeting schedules. My guess is it would be probably 1 to 2 times per month those groups would be meeting. Unless they have a hyper specific goal that they're focusing on, right? But even that, I can't imagine meeting more than 1 to 2 times per month, right? There might be subcommittees, right? And then we want to make sure that the burden isn't onerous. We're not expecting anyone to come in and do 10 hours of work a week, but I would guess you might do an hour of work a week, right? Towards whether that, because it's not just the hour-long meeting once or twice a month, but also the work in between the meetings of reading things or giving feedback. So I would venture a guess that 1 to 1.5 hours a week is probably like and that might even be an exaggeration, but I don't want to lowball you when you're thinking about getting involved. But I will also say it is still voluntary, so your engagement is your engagement, right? Like, so if you are having a struggle of a semester and you have to step back, that's okay, right? Like that you're just communicate that with your committee chair. But that's my take. Most of the committees I know meet that 1 to 2 times a month, and they meet for about an hour. And then, like I said, I would suspect, just like with class, you probably have an hour outside of work. They say 3 hours for 1 hour of class, and we know that none of our students actually do 3 hours to 1 hour of work. I wish that they did, but they don't. Maybe yours do. Mine never do. And yes, thanks, Brenda. The note and we are finalizing a 5-year strategic plan right now. PCA has not had a strategic plan previously, so the board has been hard at work on that for the last 2 years. So the committees will be working towards essentially enacting that strategic plan. But thank you for asking the actual practical question, which You and Brenda are coming in clutch with like the actual things that I should have said. Latoya.
Okay, yes, I just actually realized how to raise my hand on Zoom. This is sad. This is so sad. But I was
It's not
just wondering,
sad. It's
oh my goodness, I
technology.
feel like
Just
we've
go.
been using Zoom for like at least the last 5 years consistently. I should know how to use this program. But I was just wondering if there were any general meetings for members, like sporadically or throughout the year, or I'm just a couple of years ago, God bless my professors, though, they were doing the right thing. They were, telling me that I need to present, I need to present, I need to present. Well, I ended up presenting, and I got, after my presentation, I recognized that that particular conference wasn't my people. And they didn't know, but and I'm totally glad I did it. But I should have been at a PCA conference presenting my work. And I feel like I wasn't there because I didn't know about it. And so I was just wondering if there was an area where there's general membership where, we can kind of get together, talk about our interests, talk about our work. It, yes, let me go ahead and finish. I'm done asking.
No, I love that question, and, like, honestly, it's something that I've been thinking about a lot. The short answer to your question is no. Right now, there's not. Now, we do occasionally have some, like, town hall meeting type things, right, to get feedback. We have this monthly membership matters, which honestly, like, these are often very small. I wish way more people came to them, but please show up because you're gonna find that the small group who does come are always going to be supportive. They're going to talk through. You're going to make those connections. But frankly, that's actually one of the things. And Brenda and SNL know this. Like, this is one of the things I've actually been talking about for the last few months. We need to do some more sort of community building outside of the conference for folks like what you're saying, right? And also, we got a lot of feedback from our independent scholars. At the conference, like, one of the things I was doing was like on a listening tour to talk to people, and our independent scholars are really um or our scholars at places where they're the only ones doing this work are really missing the community of having people that they can talk to. So we're probably going to be unveiling some more of that type of thing over the next few months. Again, I encourage you to get involved in that subcommittee of membership development and recruitment if you are able, for the sheer reason of that's actually going to be one of the things that they're focusing on, is doing some of that work of how do we create that community belonging, that thing that you're talking about, right? Like those connections, that like group. I know what I'll share is that, like, for instance, the vampire studies group um are launching like virtual writing spaces for vampire scholarship out of the conference, right? And doing so we know some of the areas might be doing those things, but we want to make sure that as a whole we've got some of that support available. So thank you for bringing it up. I sometimes joke, like, every time I do one of these sessions, it just confirms the things that I've already been saying. Like, Brenda's heard me say this a million times. Like, literally, we come to one of these sessions and you all bring up things that I'm like, remember I talked about that like 2 months ago? See, look, people agree with me, right? And then poor Brenda has to hear about all of my megalomaniac ideas about why we should do these things. So thank you.
Latoya, would you mind me just asking? So one thing we have as part of our website, we have what's called communities that you can sign up for. And we have heard from people that no, like they're not really being used. Are you signed up for any of those?
Yes, Miss Brenda, I am. Of course, I just found PCA when I signed up, I think in May. So I'm just discovering this
Okay,
organization.
okay.
And so I looked, and when you sign on to even become a member, it asks you, okay, who are your people? And you
Yeah.
get to choose who your people are. And so which I think is fantastic. And I wanted to cry because I've spent all of this time in my history program being the only pop culture historian, and I wish I would have known about the PCA. But the website does ask when you sign on to be a member, like, what groups you want to be a part of, which I think is awesome. But I would love to get into like community spaces with them where we're talking about, you know, these pop culture things that we think are really important, really moving the needle in our culture and moving the needle historically that I feel like no one else is talking about.
Yeah. Well, I'm with Amanda. If you join one of those groups, I think we recognize that's a desire from our members. We've tried some different things. We need to do some things. That Amanda has lots of great ideas to really make it happen, right? In those areas that's not like vampires who do that really, really well.
So
I
Latoya, I
have
may
this
have,
idea of, oh, sorry, I interrupted someone.
sorry.
No,
I
please,
just was going
go
to
ahead.
ask, I may have missed this, but how did you learn about PCA?
That is a good question. I was looking at another journal. I think it was one of my public history journals, and one of these like really like closed academic websites. And I just happened to see, for some odd reason, Pop Culture Association. I was like, what? Like, what is this? And so then I get online and start looking around, and then the website comes up. And I was like, oh my God, this has been around. And I felt like a lonely person all these years. And so that, yeah, it just happenstance upon it. I was,
Awesome.
my
Okay.
concentration's in public history. So I was looking for something else and happened to stumble upon it. I didn't even know you guys had a YouTube. I just went on the YouTube right just now because I didn't know. Yeah.
That's okay.
Gotcha.
And
Okay,
again,
thank
we're
you.
not great at communicating these things. So thank you. Tara, you were saying something and I interrupted you.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Okay, SNL.
Now, and I was going to say, Latoya, once you get really engrossed and involved, because this was my experience and I was coming out of a different field, I won't remain nameless, but everybody that knows me knows I'm not better. But but what I did find is that when you talk about finding your people and finding your niche and your group, I have found the most humble people in this group that really give constructive feedback. It's not nasty. We're there for each other. And there's not a lot of like pomp and circumstance. It's like, yeah, we all have our degrees. Thank you, you know. So that's the part that really sticks with me forever.
Yes, while I was at that other conference, I won't say what conference it was. It's not important now. But I feel like if I would have had PCA or been in this realm, it would have been like, okay, Latoya, I don't think that conference audience is going to get what you're saying, but I think this is a PCA conference situation where we will totally get it. So I think you should present here. But yeah, so yes, totally get that.
We
Yeah,
need to figure out how to find you, the other Latoyas around the country, around the world.
And we are so interdisciplinary that it just really affords opportunities for everyone to be engaged and involved.
100%. Y'all, thank you for this like amazing generative conversation. We are like 3 minutes away from 1 o'clock. And usually we wrap up about 10 till because we know people have commitments at 1 usually. I just dropped my email in the chat. Please reach out to me, especially if you're interested in getting more involved or just exploring involvement. I will be glad to talk with you. I'll be glad to set up a one-on-one Zoom. Brenda dropped hers in the chat. I won't speak for her, but I'm gonna guess she would say the same thing.
Give me a minute. I'm
Yep.
typing. I'm trying to process here.
Oh,
It's
Sadia is
summer. I'm not
processing,
thinking.
processing. It's okay. Process away. I will also say, you know, every time we have these conversations, I just get more excited about the amazingness that is this organization and the really truly open, inclusive wonderfulness of it. Latoya, I had that experience. I did one of the first ever vampire papers at the AHA in 2009. It was not the greatest of experiences for like having good feedback that was constructive and like understood what I was doing, right? And I gave essentially that same paper at PCA, and I walked away with like not just like good like positive feedback, but I walked away with constructive feedback. I strengthened my work because of it versus you all just think that this is shit and I shouldn't do this work, right? I just swore on video. Oh well, whatever. So right, so like I'm glad that you found us. I like truly we're so excited. Aaron Majda, thank you for being here. Thanks for being committed to the org. Seriously, we do this once a month. Often it's little, often it's like us. I stopped sharing the screen. July is, we are actually going to talk about research and scholarly planning.